What is going on, you guys? So today I have another quick episode for you. This one is actually from Valuetainment, so I recommend checking out their YouTube channel. So this is a part of Valuetainment with Patrick Bet-David. He's got great content too. This is called Sozcast with Adam Sosnick. That's the guy you see in the picture here. And the episode title that we have is I Think Game is BS with a guy named Justin Waller on confidence and building confidence. So let's get into it.
How did you develop your confidence, Jay Waller?
You build it. You absolutely build it, man. You have a job in life as a man. You have to build who you are, whether that's fitness or finance or being competent in whatever field you're in. I'm a big believer, and I don't know if you teach game or not, so no disrespect if you do, but I think game is bullshit. I think it's snake oil. Because if I see a woman that I think is attractive and she is keeping herself in my space, I'll just simply walk up to her and say, hey, sorry to bother you, but it would have bothered me if I would not have come and spoken to you. I would have felt like a coward and I've been upset with myself. My name is Justin. And if a woman is into you, it doesn't matter what you say. And you have to come up to her and say it with confidence, and you'll know immediately. So I don't particularly believe in game, especially.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Like, I agree with that, honestly. Because a lot of guys will fall down the rabbit hole if they're having trouble with women and dating. You know, like things aren't really going well, right? They've been getting rejected or whatever is happening, right? It's just not working. They seem to think that maybe somewhere there's some kind of magic trick, some magic line, like a pickup line or something that you need to say. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, like, there's a couple things that are good skills for you to develop, right? He's talking about confidence. He's talking about genuine interest from you and from her. And also, one thing that they probably won't talk about here, but basically is your ability to have a deeper conversation, like actually ask like deep connecting questions, so it's not interview mode and very vanilla, plain, right? Because that's not going to excite her. So you have to be able to combine deep questions to create a deeper connections, to create a deeper connection, right? And then also mix that in like a cocktail, basically, with flirting, right? So being willing to tease her in a playful and positive way, right? Banter and flirt with her so she knows, right? Like, she knows you're into her, and she knows that you're willing to do a little bit of like push pull, be playful and not like be too serious like a stone, right? And that's part of the difference here. And I totally agree with him. Like, I agree with that on the game is BS, right? Like you don't need to learn game or learn pickup or learn like a magic line that's going to help you in all these situations. Like, it's about developing yourself as a man, and then also these skill sets of connecting deeper with a woman specifically, right? Because it's a little bit different than connecting with a guy. And then also being able to flirt. So let's keep going.
On the level that it's sold to young men, because you can teach a young man how to like make a girl feel insecure and want to be closer to you, or say something funny, but it's never going to last because the man himself is hollow and he doesn't have what it takes to really believe in what he's saying. And for that reason, I feel like you have to build yourself up, and it takes a little time. But once you become that man, you don't have to fake being anything.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be cute about it.
Yeah. It's gonna sound like I'm pushing back on you, but it's.
And by the way, like, because we've all seen like someone who's loud, and they seem like they're seeking attention, right? So it's not like there's a difference between like being kind of like a rowdy guy who is confident, and then being someone who's like obnoxious, loud, and they you could tell like they're a little bit insecure, like they're seeking attention. Versus like there's also a type of like silent confidence or quiet confidence, right? Like he was just saying, like, you don't need to like be cute or like prove yourself to anyone, and a girl can usually sense that, right? Like if you're willing to have some silence, like you in between asking a question or joking around on a date, if you're willing to have a little bit of silence with her, like that shows a lot, right? Especially if it's like one of the first dates too. Like if you're able to just be calm and confident, and maybe look at her a little bit after you both finish talking, and more than likely, if you keep quiet for a little bit, she'll feel the silence and she'll be like, what, like, and I mean, at that point you can continue the conversation or kind of joke with her a little bit, like, oh, like, nothing, and you'll see that sense of playfulness come out.
Actually, a compliment.
Do it.
I'm going to tell you what I told one of my best friends who plays in the NBA, 6'9", multimillionaire, married the most famous woman in the world at one point. You know who I'm talking about if you're familiar with this story. And he's telling me, like, he's talking to a bunch of guys out there, like me and like 3 or 4 dudes. And he's like, listen, guys, like, this is how I do my thing picking up chicks, right? And he's about to lay it on us. And I go, shut the fuck up, okay? Don't
Yeah.
teach us anything. You're 6'9", you're a multimillionaire, you were married to Kim Kardashian at one point. Like, save it, homie. Like,
Right.
go talk to the 5'4" balding dude about what kind of game he needs to learn, because he ain't hollering at this girl. So what I'm saying to you is, yeah, when you're Jay Waller and you're 6'3" and you're good looking and you got a fucking ass like that, right? You're gonna have like immediately women being like, all right, just don't fuck this up, buddy. Don't say anything stupid. Like, as long as you come up and spit game, you're good to go. So your level of confidence is different than, you know, Nick over here, who's 5'5" and is wearing 3-inch lift shoes and is somewhat balding and hasn't made money yet. I don't know.
By the way, the one thing he was saying in the beginning, right? Like, if she genuinely is interested or genuinely has a bit of attraction, you know, you're gonna see it when you approach her, right? I mean, at the end of the day, no matter what, she can still say no, or hey, like, thanks for the compliment, I'm not really interested, or hey, I have a boyfriend, or whatever it is, right? So it's not that big of a deal, right? You know, rejection is definitely not a big deal. And also, you're gonna see if she's interested, right? That's the important part, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily matter what you say. And then at the same time, that actually applies to, like, on dates as well, right? Like, it doesn't always necessarily matter what you say, as long as, you know, you haven't really messed things up and you haven't, you know, been like, I don't know, an asshole or something, right? I mean, basically, she'll be able to tell, right? And she's gonna like you. Like, basically, you want to gauge for genuine high interest. And one funny way of doing that is, I mean, girls basically filter themselves out when you see this. Like, for example, let's say you get their number. Doesn't matter where you got it, but let's say you have their number, or you send one of the first messages and you set up a date, right? Or you go for setting up a date. You say, like, hey, let's grab a coffee at this place Tuesday at whatever time, right? If she says something like, oh, I don't really do coffee, let's do dinner instead, or let's do sushi instead, right? And then especially if she suggests some kind of, like, really, like, expensive place, like, what you need to understand is this is something called a foodie call. It's a play on a booty call, and basically, she's not really interested in you. So don't accept that date. And she's also taking the masculine frame, like, no, we're gonna do this, right? It's the same thing as, like, if she reschedules with you, like right away, and she's like, oh, like, we're gonna do this time instead. Like, you have to stay true to your schedule, first of all. So if you can't just, like, you know, hang out with her anytime, right? Because you got to be a busy guy, being productive. And then also, you can't accept that, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it ties back into what he was saying, right? Like, basically, if she's actually interested in you, it doesn't matter what you do, right? It doesn't need to be a sushi dinner. She'll be fine with coffee or a smoothie or whatever, right? Something chill. Because that way you can both leave if it's not really a good vibe between you two. So coffee, drinks, boba, smoothie, whatever, right? Or even just, it doesn't even need to cost money. That's the funny part, right? If she's interested in you, it could be a walk in the park, a walk along the beach, right? It could be free, right? I mean, coffee dates are fun, like those sorts of things, right? Because you can kind of sit and chill. But you could actually tie those two things in too, like beach and coffee. Something that's very relaxed to get to know each other. And that's how you know she's genuinely interested, at least.
Somebody named Nick that does that. But so what I'm saying is, like, you don't necessarily need game. You just need to have confidence.
And I'm completely okay with that. But
Okay.
let me preface it with
Yeah.
this. There's another version of me
Yeah.
who is still 6'3", doesn't own multiple companies. He works in a plant every day. He's 40, 50 pounds overweight. He's let his hair go away because he didn't take care of his body, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera,
Yeah,
et cetera.
exactly.
Right? I built this person. And so in all fairness, I deserve to walk up with confidence. And any man who does the same can do the same. He might not be able to get a 10 out of 10
Yeah.
in another country or in Miami, but he can certainly live in Indiana and have the most beautiful girl in his town. And for that reason, I think that a guy putting game in front of building himself is an absolute mistake.
Yeah. I actually appreciate.
And by the way, he's not actually making that up. It's not like an alternate reality. I mean, it's a good example as an alternate reality, but he actually used to be overweight, right? And he didn't own all these businesses. He wasn't doing as well as he is right now. So like his former self was the guy that needed the advice, or wasn't confident because he hadn't built himself up like that.
That response, and there's two versions. You know,
Right.
at one point, I'm 6 foot 200 pounds. I've been this way. Like the whole premise of this entire show, the entire premise is men improving.
Right.
Whether that's money, whether that's relationships, whether that's your network, whether that's your lifestyle, whether that's your looks, whether it's like getting better, faster, stronger, cooler, sexier, healthier, wealthier, the whole thing. And you know, at one point in my life, I was 235 pounds. I was letting myself go. I would make excuses like, I don't trust any dude over 30 with abs. It's like, and all that was a reflection on me being like, oh, I'm not willing to put in the work, so I'm just making excuses. So now that I'm 42, I'm like, no, bro, like I'm dedicating time to do this. I want to compete. We're all competing in a marketplace, whether it's a business marketplace, sexual marketplace. And I think confidence comes from actually putting in the work, like we talked about, whether it's the football stuff or making the calls or doing shows like this. And once you build it up, it's like a snowball effect.
Yeah,
You're
it
going
comes
to grow
from
and grow and
inside
grow
of
and
you.
grow.
It absolutely comes
Yeah,
from inside
exactly.
of you, and you're the only person that can build it. And if you don't want the ball in Game 7 of your life, then you need to go look in the mirror and find out what the fuck you're scared of.
I love
And
that.
go get confident there.
I love
Give
that.
me the fucking rock. If you don't want the ball in every outcome of your life, you are some way scared of something, and you have to go find out what it is, and then you need to go build it. If not,
Basically, like, because confidence is self-trust. Like, you're going to be confident if you trust yourself. So like if you haven't been doing a lot of these things, right, like staying disciplined with the gym, your business, whatever it is, right, like there's a reason that you don't trust yourself, and that's why the confidence is not there.
pickup line is not going to help you, and it certainly will not help you retain her.
It's not going to help you in the long term. It
No.
might help you in that moment.
It might get you to. It
Yeah.
might get her to sleep with you once, and
Yeah.
then it's going to get your fucking heart broke because you
Yeah.
were fishing outside of a pond. You're not in that league, bro.
Awesome, bro. Awesome.
So-
advice.
By the way, I mean that's a good point too, right? Like a pickup line or a game or that kind of stuff. Like she's gonna see through it at some point, right? I mean, you're both gonna get to know each other better, and she's gonna know who you really are at the end of the day, regardless.
Q, let's go to you for a second. So
Okay.
how did you get your confidence? You're 30, right?
Yes, I'm
Justin's 37, so he's a little more time to marinate, right? How did you develop your confidence?
man.
The first thing you said, experience. I break that down to practice and preparation. So, and I don't do the game. I agree with you on game. I think it's bullshit to pick up artists, all that.
Snake
shit.
oil, bro.
Yep, it's bullshit.
Snake oil.
So essentially, what I learned from is not being scared to fail. You need to figure out what it is that you need to improve on, and you do that behind closed doors. And then when you get out in the real world and you apply it, understand that this might not work the first time, but know that you're going to have another opportunity at it. And don't be scared to fail. So make sure you prep, whatever it is in any domain, whatever domain you want to pursue in life, make sure that you prep. You do the research that you need to do. You practice athletics, whatever the case may be. I learned mine from basketball. I played with a lot of the top players, NBA players through high school. I played for one of the top high schools, and I realized that my downfall was my confidence. The fact that I didn't have the confidence to get out there and do what I needed to do on the court to prove that I could play at the level that it later ended up finding out I could play at. So it's important to understand that you're going to fail. Not only do you have to have confidence in success, but in failure as well. No, I'm going to fail. I don't care. I'm going to try again. That's where the confidence comes from. And then you'll later start to see the progression. You'll see that progression.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one thing, like what they're saying, like always be accountable about the things that you can improve, like get 1% better every day. And they're making like a interesting example right now. Like sometimes you'll let's say you'll meet someone, right? And they could lead into a really great career or job opportunity, something like that. If you're not prepared, right? Like if you haven't been working on yourself, you haven't been building different skill sets, the opportunity is going to be right there, and you're not going to be confident enough to catch it, right? Or you're not going to have the ability to back it up, right? So like when the opportunity comes, you're not going to be ready for it. And that's actually like it applies to these other situations, like let's say dating, like they're talking about as well, right? Like if you're not ready in a certain circumstance, it's basically going to slip through your fingers. Instead of if you had been working on yourself, building the confidence, building up or leveling up all these different areas, like you're always going to be ready, right? And even if it doesn't work out, like because you're ready, you've been building yourself up, that another amazing opportunity is right around the corner. So you'll be in abundance mindset instead of scarcity too.
And you'll find that confidence with that progression and continue on whatever path that you're on.
Yeah,
That's the way I see it.
I want to pick up on one thing you said. You talked about it's okay to fail, right? And like it's kind of how you bounce back from failure. We did a podcast last week with PBD and Neil deGrasse Tyson. Do you know who Neil deGrasse Tyson is? One of literally the most famous scientists in the world. I don't know if you can pull him up real quick just to get a visualization. And Pat asked Neil deGrasse Tyson, he said, what are sort of the indicators of success? like especially graduating high school and college. Like he wasn't a highly sought after scientist. He was literally a male stripper at one point. I swear to God. Neil deGrasse Tyson, does that name ring a bell? Face ring a bell?
Yeah.
There's right there. And he said, oh, I'll break it down for you. And he's like, well, yeah, obviously grades and scores are important, but there's such a multitude of factors. It's like networking. Like, I'd rather have someone be a B+ student or B student, but get along with everybody and socialize rather than like the valedictorian. And obviously they talked about nature versus nurture and parenting and everything like that. But to your point, he said, one of the key factors that I would put in the top 3 or 4 is the ability to bounce back from failure. Okay? And where they say like fall down 10 times, get up 11. And that's essentially what breeds confidence is like you.
By the way, like school, a lot of school and like growing up, like we're taught to be basically like afraid of failure. Like don't fail, don't get an F, don't get a bad grade on that test or that project, right? But life is totally like the opposite of that, right? You get up, you keep getting up, and you're going to succeed eventually, right? Because you're going to be learning, you're going to figure it out, and that level of experience is going to get you to the networking opportunities, the career, the passion, right? The dating opportunities, like everything. It's going to land because you've been failing faster to succeed faster, basically.
Stand-up comedy. I used to do stand-up comedy. You played college football. You played basketball. You're in the content creation game. We all know we've had fuck-ups. We all know we have. How many people fuck up and they're like, look, this just isn't for me.
They give up.
And you just give up. And it's just that ability to bounce back from failure is what kind of creates you. That's what kind of is the dirt and the soil of the person. So if you like that clip, click right here to watch another, or if you want to watch the entire.
Awesome. Well, I definitely think there's a lot of good points in that video, and hope that you were able to take something away that'll be helpful for you in your life. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. You got this, bro.